Okay, a few minutes ago when I was responding to a comment actually that was left on the most recent video that I put up that I thought would be kind of the last video for this project, but then I decided I needed one more. I think I will title this something like One More Damn Redemption League, Mike Owens Quick Play Pro Hockey project video or something like that. Unofficially, that's going to be, the mess of a title. But just a few thoughts, actually, a few things that I thought I would do and maybe sort of transition from one thing into the next here. So this will double as kind of a channel check-in, I guess. It's been a while since I've done anything like that, I think. Just got to really reiterate congratulations to the 1982-83 Boston Bruins for what they did, spoiler, in the ultimately just, winning the Consolation Cup. And so this Pez dispenser is about the best I can do in terms for a cup. And of course, if I turn this around, it says, Canadians 1992 and 93. But if you get a little creative, if you think of the three standing for, or sorry, not the three, the C standing for consolation, because I called it the Consolation Cup, and change the nines to eights here. So this is 1982-83, we'll say, because again, was awarded to the 82-83 Boston Bruins. They ended up winning it all. And after finishing that, not that long after finishing rolling that out last night over here, I went for a walk late in the evening to get some exercise on my way to the store to get a snack, completely eliminating any benefits of that exercise immediately. But I was just thinking about how things ultimately went down with this. And I mean, again, the tabletop is different than in real life. And I've never, certainly as an adult at least, never really had anything like hatred for the Boston Bruins like I think some people, some fans of their teams seem to have for the opposing teams. I'm not like that. Of course, I have a favorite team and I want them to win when they are playing. But being a Habs fan, I guess is what I'm trying to say here, is that typically, you'd think that, I don't know, I'd have this hate on for the Boston Bruins. But while I don't have that, I was quite surprised actually just thinking about how everything ended up, that just at how happy I was actually, for lack of a better way of putting it, at the Boston Bruins emerging victorious in this project, because of course they were the underdog, and I thought it was just fantastic how things rolled out, that they were able to eliminate a couple of favorites. And St. Louis was no easy out for them in the opening round either. The 81 St. Louis Blues, so they had to overcome the 81 St. Louis Blues and then the 1970 Montreal Canadiens. Not only did they do that, but they did it in five. And then, of course, the 72 New York Rangers, a little more difficult, but I mean, I'd sort of pegged them to be a favorite team before this thing even really got going. Just looking at the numbers, knowing how the game Mike Owens Quick Play Pro Hockey works. And so the fact that the Bruins even were able to eliminate them in 6 games, I just, what can I say other than I'm surprised at how happy I am with the fact that the Boston Bruins are now a champion on this tabletop. Like, sort of an active reigning champion, with that being my most recently completed project. So again, I don't have a hat right here in front of me, but if I did, I'd take my hat off to them, the Boston Bruins, for what they did to conclude this project. And on a couple other concluding notes, I guess, I've decided, and this goes back retroactively actually to a project that I completed, technically the first ever, I want to say start to finish. It was also a what if. It's the League of Champions and Presidents, where I took 6 teams, not entirely dissimilar to this one in that it's a handful of teams from a few different eras and matched them all together using the equivalent of Mike Owens normalization with shootout hockey, which is the great teams of the past set where the teams are normalized so that you can play them sort of competitively across eras. Bobby Orr, one remarkable storyline in that initial season of the League of Champions and Presidents was that Bobby Orr went on a tear, and it's just a short season, but he went on a tear in the latter half of that short campaign and ended up passing both Gretzky and Lemieux and winning, I guess, what you would call the Art Ross Trophy. Well, I don't want an Art Ross. Again, this is a tabletop. This is my own thing. So I've decided retroactively, given what Bobby Orr did there, his feats in that What If project, this League of Champions and Presidents Season 1, to call the scoring title winner, the scoring title award or whatever, the trophy, so to speak, the Bobby Orr Trophy. And so Dale Hawerchuk with 43 points in 32 games uh, was the leading scorer in the regular season of the Redemption League. And of course, it's really fitting too, I think. I mean, Dale Howard Chuck, he passed away, uh, sadly, tragically, at a relatively young age recently, back in 2020. And I named a conference after him. Of course, one of the conferences of the Redemption League was the Howard Chuck Conference. And so, even though the 85 Winnipeg Jets came up short against the 75 Buffalo Sabres in the opening round of the playoffs, it was really nice that at the tail end of the regular season, Howard Chuck was able, and again, that was a good down to the wire little storyline as well there, that it was Federico and Vic Hadfield and Dale Howard Chuck all sort of vying for this scoring title, which again, I've now decided to call the Bobby Orr Trophy. So Dale Howard Chuck has won the Bobby Orr Trophy. And another one that I've decided on as well, and I mentioned this before probably about mid-season, though there were a couple of candidates for this one, honorable mention goes out to Don Luce, actually, of Buffalo. But I've decided that the first, and I should actually specify because he did pretty good for the 72 New York Rangers team, but for his play with the Montreal, I don't know why I put the dot there, but for his offensive prowess, somewhat surprisingly so, led the team in scoring, and not just by a little. It was like an 8-point gap between him and I think like Jean Beliveau there to Beliveau, of course, a little past his prime in 1970, the team that I used here for the Canadians. But anyway, the point still stands that Bobby Rousseau had outstanding numbers above and beyond what one would expect. And so I've decided that with projects going forward, in honor of what happened in this project or whatever, I'm going to give a Bobby Rousseau award, I guess, to the player who sort of overachieves in a project. I'm trying to think back actually retroactively to some other projects that Russo award. I mean, I'm not going to shoehorn this necessarily or force this onto every project if there isn't a name that emerges from the pack that I would deem worthy of winning an award like this. And I'm also not going to go beyond 2 awards for the time being anyway. I'm not too sure actually if I were to give like some equivalent of a Conn Smythe trophy. I guess Peterson would be a candidate. Perreault, even though he didn't make it to the final, would be a pretty good candidate actually, with averaging above 2 points per game and with 13 goals in 12 games in the postseason. After just 5 goals in 32 during the regular season, I should add one more time, so that gave him a total of 18 goals in 44 games. Put him almost up to, I think, about the average. I think he was knocking on 50 that season. Was Perreault. I'd have to go back and double check, but because I know in the 70s there was at least one season or two where he was, at that mark, at that plateau. But again, back to this. So yeah, the Bobby Orr Trophy to Dale Howard Chuck, the Bobby Rousseau Award to Bobby Rousseau, and fittingly enough, there's not going to be an off-season best of 7 with this project. With the last Mike Owens project that I completed, I did do a one-off best of 7 with the Canadians and the Boston Bruins of 1947 because Boston just had their number all year that season, and I was really looking forward to those two teams meeting in the playoffs. And then Boston was eliminated. I'm trying to recall now. I think by Detroit, actually, and the Canadians eliminated the Maple Leafs. So, of course, reversing the course of history because Toronto won that season. Historically, they won the Cup in that year. And I want to say there's one other project as well that I'm just blanking on right now where I did an off-season best of 7. Maybe I didn't even record or report it or upload it to even to Delphi or anything like that. But I feel like the 46-47 replay I did with the same game, Mike Owens Quick Play Pro Hockey, wasn't the only one that I did something like this with. Anyway, there will be no off-season, post-season, not post-season because that's the playoffs, but no off-season series or whatever with this one. I'm quite satisfied with how everything transpired. And also, too, I think that you can't really expect the Boston Bruins, again, they pulled off the upset here. You could argue they did it thrice, if not twice. They certainly did it twice in back-to-back series. And so I really feel like it's a little unfair to this team and to the tabletop and to the game to expect the Boston Bruins to be able to defeat teams that just numerically, mathematically, on the tabletop with how the dice would normally roll and everything like that on average, are just superior teams. But again, it was Boston's night. It was Boston's night on a few different nights. So yeah, Boston, very deserving champion on this tabletop right now. And I don't want to do anything to take away from that, for the Boston Bruins. So I'm not going to be doing any off-season, play or anything like that. What I am going to be doing, what I'm going to move on to next, actually, what I'm going to go back to return to, is the 1924-25 NHL season replay, where I'm going to play out the full regular season. It was just a 30-game schedule then, and there were just 6 teams in the league then. Not even the original 6 teams, because the Hamilton Tigers, and that's the main reason why I'm doing this project, why I wanted to do this replay, it was their final season in the NHL. The Hamilton Tigers, of course, comprise part of the Hockey Unreal logo that I have right now, rocking for my avatar or whatever for YouTube. I have the Tigers, and the Canadians comprise the C and whatnots, and then the crease is the U. If I don't know if anyone else ever noticed that, but that's why it appears the way that it is. So I've got to get back to playing some more games with the Tigers, even if they don't emerge. It's far from a guarantee, actually, because the teams were neck and neck then historically. So it's far from guaranteed that the Tigers will even emerge as champions of the NHL in the regular season, and or much less if they had the what if here being, had they not gone on strike, could they actually have made their way over to Victoria to play the Cougars in a best of 5? I've said before, I've misspoken on this. It was a best of 5 in 1925 for the Stanley Cup between the NHL champion and the champion of either the Pacific or Western League. I'm always misconstruing those two. What I intend to do with this one, though, I think I just really want to get back to Blue Zone and rock out my Gray Zone variation of that, and I'm going to carry that all the way through the regular season now, and the NHL part of the postseason as well. I've decided that for the time being, I don't want to mix that with a couple of different games, but what I will do, I do plan to completely bring Status Pro Hockey into it for the I guess not really even the off season best of 7, because again, the best of 5 for the Stanley Cup was still during the postseason. It was just post NHL season. So I know that sounds a little strange, but I guess what I'm trying to say here is I'm very much looking forward to getting back to this project. It was just that I feel like when I'm just replaying one project at a time, and I know this because I sort of started off as a one project replayer, and I was rolling through Games of Paradise, but I was just really wanting to try other games and still figuring out how I was going to do this and get back to being a tabletop hockey replayer. Of course, when I did this as a youth, Stratomatic was the only one I was aware of, back in the 90s, before even the internet really, kind of. So now that there are so many other games to play, I've had to come to the realization, and I made another video about this, that basically 1 is not enough because I'll long for another. 3 is too many because when I do 3, I feel like I'm just, progress is just not at the rate that I would like it to be ideally for them. I just don't have enough time on top of having a full-time job, and believe it or not, doing other things, enjoying other things, although a good chunk of that is actually trying to design my own game or games as well. And actually when I'm less active on the channel, that's usually a pretty big reason why. If I go a week and I don't upload as much content as I would in some other weeks. But back to this, and I'm going to play through this. I'm over a third of the way through this now anyway, and again, it is a pretty short season. And Gray Zone, when I get rocking that, it's a pretty short game. And then I think for a little more, again, I think the games are too different. I've thought about this more since getting away from the project. I think I will complete it with just the one game, because I restarted it with the Gray Zone game, and so I think I'll wait until slightly post NHL portion replay to bring Status Pro back into it, and then I'll match up the Victoria Cougars and whoever emerges from this victorious. And it'd be fun if it were the Hamilton Tigers, but if that's not how the cookie crumbles, then so be it. So I'm not sure if there's anything else. I mean, I did the whole cup awarding thing, I think, the best that I could. But again, yeah, just quite thinking about this, just reflecting on this after the fact, just cannot stated enough. Just want to restate that, yeah, really, really surprisingly satisfied and content and happy with the almost scarily so with just how it just, in my opinion anyway, was just a great story with how this all unfolded in the postseason. So there it is, that, and again too, this is one that from start to finish, even setting up this project, I made videos about that. I did the sorting hat, I did the thing where I printed the teams and had them on display and then sorted them into the respective divisions and conferences and that thing. So this project is, I guess, on a soft note, kind of special to me. And yeah, so anyway, and thank you again to anybody who was along for the ride. I've done a few takes of this, so I'm trying to think if earlier in this take, whether or not I wanted to mention actually Al Red Sox fan Dave Gardner and Ken Castro personally, because I'm not sure if anybody else, there might have been a couple other people who checked out what I was doing last night with this, but they all chimed in the chat that I noticed, and so thank you very much for that, guys. Thank you for showing up. And sorry I didn't make a point to thank you at the end of the video. By the time those 6 games had rolled out, I was just, I'm just not as, not as experienced, I guess, with talking and doing live stream videos. Anyway, all right. So yeah, congratulations to the '83 Boston Bruins. Congratulations to Dale Hawerchuk on winning the first ever Bobby Orr Trophy. I guess retroactively, I could award it to Bobby Orr. I could award it to Milt Schmidt for the 46-47 Mike Owens Quick Play Pro Hockey replay. And I guess in the second season of the League of Champions and Presidents with Shootout Hockey, Mario Lemieux would be the winner of this trophy. As for the Bobby Russo Award, that's Bobby Russo is going to be the first one, so he's the first and only winner of the Russo Award so far. So the bot and the bra, and yeah. All right. On that odd note, I guess more than enough from me for the time being. So bye for now.